flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Welcome, everybody, to our work session here today. Monday, October 3rd, 2022, 9:30 a.m. I will ask our Secretary-Treasurer to call the roll, please.
Scott Horwitz, President.
Here.
William Pell, Treasurer, Secretary. Here. William J. Warner.
Present.
Ann Walker.
Here.
And William Parrish.
Present.
We all are here.
All right, let's jump right into our permit applications for determination. We have Emotional Rescue LLC, 14 Neomog. JMO Environmental, did you contact Mr. Just to come down?
Oh, yeah, he's sick.
He's sick.
Yeah, he's sick.
All right, so why don't we, this one should probably go on hold? You want to look at it, or you want to wait for him, or?
Years, it's up to you. Do you guys whether you want to look at it or not?
Want to look at it?
Yeah, let's take a look at it so we know.
Can you grab that mic? Thanks. Appreciate it.
4x50 fixed dock utilizing through-flow decking and reconstruct the 4x60 timber upland walk on grade. Do we have stamp plans here, James?
No, there's no stamp.
Okay, so this is going to end up going on hold anyway, because based on our regulations, you need the stamp of the appropriate professional on the plans, whether it be an engineer, a landscape engineer, an architect. Somebody's got to have a stamp. There's always been a requirement for a stamp, but now it's an expanded
Yes.
requirement. So this is going to go on hold anyway. So if the
Well, that happened shortly after Sandy because of all the failed bulkheads and issues that we were having with previous projects.
right, so now it's
Board took us upon ourselves to, upgrade the, the look at the project as far as from a professional standpoint.
right. So now it's an expanded requirement, of which this does not have this stamp. I mean, the project itself is like a fine project, but I think we're going to have to notify him that when he does come, he's going to have to amend these plans to meet the new requirement. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to the next one then. We have the Costwolds LLC, 40 Ocean Avenue, Village of Quogue Land Use Ecological Services, Inc.
How are you guys?
Good morning, how are you?
Happy Monday.
Yes.
2 Mondays in a row you got us here.
I guess that's true.
Working hard, the board's working hard.
Yeah, you guys always work hard. Pretty simple. I don't know, I'm sure Scott's familiar with this and probably Ed too. This is at the end of Ocean Avenue. It used to be a bridge, across.
Yep.
Cool site, I mean, it's really, really cool site. And actually, the bridge that used to go across, all the fill that was on here was dredged out. So there's a big hole in front of this property at the intercoastal water, which shows on the soundings. So it's a small dock right off the bulkhead, a ramp and a float. What we tried to do is kind of snug it in so we stayed away from the intercoastal waterway. So if you look at the soundings that Bob Fox had done, on one side of the float, there's plenty of water. The other side, so it's a little shallow. We can chalk it if you want. But again, I just wanted to make sure that we were not interfering with the intercoastal waterway.
No, this is clearly outside of that. I was actually up at the site yesterday. I drove over the bridge and looked at many sites up there.
Yeah.
And, this is a good project, just from my perspective,
Yeah.
it does stay out of the navigable channel.
Yeah.
And there's no submerged aquatic vegetation on the eelgrass.
No,
and such up
that
there, so-
hole there is, and there used to be, I guess, a good flounder hole,
And weak fish in the springtime, yes,
just from past history.
yep.
James, is it possible to turn on that screen, or do we ask Charles for that?
Charles would have to turn on that screen, but I think he's got a Zoom on that one.
Oh, okay.
So James, we need a stamp on this one too?
Charles, if you can
Here's
turn
that.
on the second screen.
So you,
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'll have David Fox put the dock on the plans and stamp
it
it.
needs a, like engineer, architect,
Oh, no, like I say.
no problem. Okay, so just get that to James. So we'll hold it until you fire that paperwork off.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
You all have a great day.
You too.
Sure.
Stay dry.
All right, trustee Pell.
I have Cold Spring Point Association, Mr. James Walker, please come forward. This is pretty, we did this before. This is basically proposing to grade the dredge spoil to provide uniform shoreline along Cold Spring Point Association property as provide plans. Go ahead, Jim.
This is a permit you issued prior, and it wasn't used. We didn't make arrangements fast enough to get the contractor out there. So this time, county should be placing dredge spoils on this side, and Chip O'Connell's going to move some of the spoil down the beach. And probably Cold Spring Point will ask to renew this every once in a while when the county's going to put dredge material on the beach. The idea is, instead of benefiting 11 or 12 property owners, that the sand would be graded down the beach to benefit more of the property owners in a fair manner. And that's all there is to it.
Plus the freeholders for walking up and down that beach.
When Scott called me, I contacted Bridget Fleming. Then I got word from Ed that already the county had decided to put spoils
Yeah,
on.
I had asked them at the end of the summer. I've been working on this project since the gentleman emailed me last spring. We're trying to alternate year-to-year deposition sites, which is fair for everybody in the environment. Historically, when I was first on the board, everything was going on the west side, and the east side where your proposed project was terribly eroded. But we have placed it there twice, and this will be the third time, and it's good to have a balance in that area. So,
And because the trustees have done that, the county dredge spoil material is present in front of the clubhouse. It's pretty high. It's a little hard to get like a sailboat down to the beach because it does erode. So the idea is to push some of that material to the east to benefit some of the other property owners.
Yep.
That's it.
it's a good project.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Jim.
Jim.
They'll
This
probably
has to
come-
get stamped too, Scott?
They'll probably come back every year or two, ask for a renewal.
James, this one?
They have to
this one?
renew, they can renew this once a year.
Town of Southampton.
I mean, when
No.
when the time comes out,
This one-
they can renew it.
Right, and if they don't renew it in time,
Yeah.
they'll have to ask for
Yeah,
a new
so-
permit
Yeah.
the next time the spoils are going on
Yeah,
their
it's
side.
cheaper to renew it, tell them.
This one's
Cheaper to
okay.
renew it, and they'll try to do that if it makes sense.
So
This-
there's an exception?
This,
There's an exception?
It's not an accept, it's not a marine structure. That was the whole idea.
yeah, this doesn't, this one can advance.
So this one can move forward. Thanks, James.
It's up to you guys.
Yeah. Kelly Giddish of Shark Mound LLC,
Yes.
31 Big Fresh Pond, North Sea.
Yes, this is to repair an existing wooden dock from 1990. Basically, it's a walkway out to a pond, to Big Fish Pond. What was left, the existing dock measures 4 by 30, protruded into the waters of Big Fish Pond of the bank post. We found various boards, jointed piece of previous dock on the bottom of the pond, rotten, rusty nails sticking out. Basically, this should be rewritten exactly what they want. They built it already, and they realized after they built it that they needed a permit to rebuild it.
Can you pull it up a little, James?
Can you pull it up? Can you do the photo of it too?
Photos?
Yeah.
Billy, are they looking to get an as-built permit?
Yes.
Yes, as per permit, but the trouble is that they should have used, can you do this picture,
Yep.
please? Flow through? Because most of the new docks, they are all flow through.
Has that got a treatment on it?
No, it's just wet.
I think it's the lighting, Scott.
Okay. Yeah, it does look like it though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks like it has a stain on it.
Sure does, if it was painted red at one point.
Billy, what is the
Looks like it, right,
configuration of
Mark?
this dock? Is,
This
it
is what it looks-
looks very wide.
It's 4 feet, then there's like, goes straight out, then there's 4 feet on either side. I'm not for the stock. I think that should be flow-through. That the board should be replaced, because usually in here, it's all flow-through.
That doesn't look like it conforms to our normal,
No, because the catwalk it's more than 4 feet, and there's 2 fixed docks alongside of it.
that's
Yeah,
not. what we
usually the
normally-
We would look like for a T or an L dock, not a dock, a catwalk to a big,
Platform.
Here's the dimensions. So 8 feet by 12 feet, no.
It's 4 feet by 12 feet. Well, it's 4 feet catwalk and then 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Then
so
one
that's
by
12
12.
feet.
12 feet by 8 feet.
By 8 feet.
The
Yeah.
platform.
Correct.
So we wouldn't approve that. Would we?
No, normally we
No.
would go with a catwalk either to an L or a T, a step down to
That's,
acquire easy access for paddle boards and kayaks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Something, that's like a big
That's a deck.
deck in the middle
that's
of a
not,
pond.
that's not consistent with
No.
what the trustees normally,
And it should be flow-through.
and it was done without a permit.
Yes.
No.
And was there an original permit for this, Billy, or is it with something else, or, I'm very,
Did you look that up, James?
I didn't see one, but
Didn't see
they
one.
said it's a very old dock that was.
It's very old dock.
yeah,
there, so.
older than 1930, we have permits back to the 30s,
Yeah.
so is it older than 1930?
Is this a pre-existing non-conforming situation, or what?
We couldn't find anything.
Is there, can you look at some historical GIS pictures?
Yeah, can you go back 20 years, James, please?
That's 2010.
It's an L configuration, just what I had spoke
Yeah.
about, Bill, see?
Yeah,
So this is nothing,
what it
Close.
was. No.
wait,
Yeah, but is that,
is that this property, or is it,
No,
is it the red?
This
the
is the
adjoining
property, right?
So there's
Right.
nothing there.
There's nothing there.
Let me check 18. So 18, it looks like something. I don't think they have a permit.
I don't remember.
So,
See the adjoining property, we'd be consistent what we would have approved in the past.
yeah.
You see 2016.
This is not gonna fly.
No.
So what's the first step?
Well, I think the
Mark,
first
what do you
stuff,
think,
Denial?
well,
Either that or a hold for the trustees to give it some more consideration, but yeah, it doesn't seem like conforms with,
Well,
Wait.
there's an
what's-
illegal dock, right now, there's an illegal,
There's
Right,
a
they got
notice-
a violation.
They got a
Notice of
violation.
so they have a notice of violation.
When did they get that notice of
When was
violation?
that? When was the date on that?
it's hard to tell. Can you zoom in on
Can
that
you
a
see
little bit?
that, James?
Maybe I might have it in here.
It's probably in there.
So they're coming to us
It's
to
like
legal,
August 20th?
Just August 2020 of
2022.
2022? Okay,
So it's this past summer.
okay. So it was built this past summer.
so they built a structure without a permit, and it's non-compliant material, and it's not per our regulations.
Yeah.
That's a denial.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do a denial. I'm fine with that.
So then what happens after we deny it? Like,
need-
what's the next
They
step?
need to come back with an application that would be conforming to our rules and regulations and the material. I believe that, is that
And a
correct?
fee.
that's correct, and then they can address the notice of violation, which appears to still be open, right? If I can read the date on that? Is that the?
Yeah, August
Yeah.
22nd is
I mean,
when.
they got a notice of violation, so they submitted an application for an as-built, so.
Right,
How do you guys
We
want to
should-
proceed? Like
We could
how-
review it and deny it. At that point,
Yeah.
that would trigger the next
So-
action for them to come back with another plan.
Yeah.
So you're advancing this to the meeting for denial, right?
I'm looking for a legal,
Or you could hold.
We'll do the board.
You could hold and ask them to resubmit with plans that are acceptable to the
Yeah,
trustees.
plus the
We
plan,
don't,
it has
we don't
be
have to
stamped, too.
deny.
How can we advance it with no stamp?
But that needs to be ripped
Can't they
out.
just revise the
Correct,
worksheet?
which is
Yes.
why I'm saying,
So how do we get to the ripping out? How do we get to the
well,
removal?
I would say it's either A, deny it, or B, have the trustee of the area say this is not conforming to our plans, provide the board with a set of plans that meet the Blue Book guidelines, and
Right.
then
We don't, you don't
I
have
just
to
said that.
deny for
Can't
that.
you
right? You
proceed
could
with the
hold-
violation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Say that again?
That would force him, if you proceed with the violation, that would force him to do it right away.
Yeah, once you bring them to justice court, now you've got that avenue of pressure in place on them to do the right thing.
Joe, you're going to have to speak, I think, either up here or...
No, we do. That's correct, but they're making this application, it appears, in an attempt to
To fix that.
rectify the problem, so.
But they have to come back with a stamped plan, what conforms to our Blue Book.
Correct. The
Correct.
question is whether you want to deny it or hold it. And you could hold it, and we could also hold it in justice court, give them a chance to resubmit with a plan that's acceptable to the trustees.
That puts a timeline on it, makes the clock start ticking if you have a violation sent to justice court.
That's right.
Yeah, I think we better off doing the timeline. What Bill
If
said.
that's the way you want to do it, that's fine.
Special Counsel Lombardo.
Special Counsel Joe Lombardo, the fact is that you've issued the notice of violation. The justice court matter can proceed. It's not going to proceed to disposition, but it will proceed. You can have the people come in and explain to them what they need to do, submit a new application, and take it from there. That way, they're in the process of trying to remedy the situation, but they haven't remedied it. Just coming by and submitting the application doesn't take away the fact that there's still a violation outstanding, and it's an ongoing violation every day. So I would suggest just bring the people in, explain to them what's going on, and then let Mark take care of what needs to be done in justice court.
Okay.
Yeah, and the violation can stay open for a while. We can reach a disposition on that ultimately, depending on what the trustees decide and what they
And if they
submit.
don't come in, then we can do a denial.
They're showing good faith, so
Yeah.
there's no need to treat it like the crime of the century,
Okay.
but do let the procedures
Satisfied when they
continue.
application
Thank you.
by the
Thank you.
It's
That's
those
good.
checks and balances.
Just to clarify, this is just a notice of violation. It's not in justice court.
Not yet.
The
Right,
summons was never
Good.
written.
right. It's going to be though, yeah.
So we have to,
Fixing this.
we have to ask the Bay Constables to write the summons
They're going to
for
have to
it?
issue a summons, right?
At this point, if you can hold off on that and give them an opportunity to submit a
Okay.
new permit, I mean, there's no sense necessarily issuing.
You will
a
contact the
violation.
people, James,
They're trying to fix it.
they have to submit new plans? They have to be stamped?
You don't want this to be
No. this-
approved, though.
You
So
want to
why would
hold
you
it?
ask for new?
You want to
plans?
hold it and see if they'll do the right thing?
Yeah, hold it and see if they
Okay.
do the right thing.
we would ask for new plans that would be compliant to what we would approve, what's in the
Book.
Blue Book.
Blue Book.
Right now, we're looking at it, it's not Blue Book approvable.
Yeah, but they're giving you plans that it's already built, so it matches what is built there. If they submit new plans, you
They're gonna have to
have
take
to
it
tell
out.
them to take this out and then submit new plans for
That's
that.
why, yeah.
Remove the,
But they have to get here for you to tell them that.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the structure can remain until they have a contract to go down and remove it, at
Move
which
it.
such time they can start to rebuild the dock that's compliant to our rules and regulations. Right, Mark?
That's right, and we could hold it, and, part of the purpose of the notice of violation, not the violation itself, is to get people to kind of in good faith submit. They may not know what they're submitting, but the trustees can give them guidance during the whole period, and they could submit what.
They're not working with an expedite.
They-
They're not working
No,
with an
No.
it's
expedite,
owner.
so-
Now, what
No.
is a reasonable time frame to have this accomplished? 90 days?
That's,
Put it on for
the
the
trustee, it
next
seems a
meeting,
little tight, 90 days.
Well, yeah, send a certified letter to them notifying them that our determination.
And ask them to appear at the next work session, that's all.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
You got that, James?
sure.
Thank you.
So we're going to hold that to the October 17th meeting.
Yes.
The next one is William Scott Borman, 45 Cedar Crest Road. He's not here either today. This is walkway, he resubmitted his, a new cover letter. Did you put the new cover letter in here?
Yeah, should be.
There also was a reply from the Conservation Board
Yes. Looking for that now.
for this.
James, you have the letter from the Conservation Board, so we can read that in?
I don't think it's on here.
It's not in the folder here?
Is it in there? Because it's not on here.
Should have been put in the folder here, I would,
Should be, yep.
James, on that, our cover sheet, is it, that paragraph, is that the whole narrative of what they want to do?
yes, guy wrote a book.
Oh, man.
And I know, is this in, by Todd Point, Billy?
Yes.
Cedar Crest, yep.
No, this is
Yeah.
the, one of the walkover bridges?
Walkovers, yeah,
Now-
it's a new one. We thought it was, it's, right, it's those 4 properties where there's one.
A, B, C, D.
Yeah, it's the one, the property over here has no walkway.
So he owns to the water and he owns on the other side.
Yes.
So we're not dealing with easements and stuff like that?
No.
Okay, I just want to make it very, clear because the other one was way more complicated.
The Conservation Board had an opinion on it.
Their opinion was, I just drew it up in our email.
You got it? Good.
Yep.
Thank you, Ann.
The Conservation Board has reviewed the above-referenced application, has the following comments. The application for the proposed catwalk bridge dock did not provide a planar view, which is needed in order to ensure the disturbance to wetlands is minimized. Number 2, the proposed catwalk bridge dock application includes a specification sheet for precast cement pavers, which are to be installed from the north side of the proposed bridge to Peconic Bay. Clearing of existing natural vegetation and installation of the proposed paver path will extend nearly 300 feet landward of the average high water mark. Such activity requires an administrative wetlands permit. Number 3, applicant is advised that installation of a paver path landward of average high water line and through wetlands to Peconic Bay will not be approved by the chief environmental analyst. As such, the Conservation Board recommends that the plans be revised to eliminate the paver path from the site plan prior to resubmission to the trustees and filing of the required administrative wetlands permit application.
So they have a lot of work they have to do on this application, it seems.
I mean, the paver path that they're talking about, because I'm familiar with the area on a excessive storm in northeaster, it washes over there, so these pavers would be completely covered over with sand. It'd be-
Or dug up.
Or dug up and
Yeah.
put in the environment. So
Yeah.
the most practical application would be like a brown bark trail, some type of natural, clearing, and just let them have a footpath with sand. I mean, this is putting more of an industrial look in
Yeah.
the wetlands down there.
They need to come in and.
They have to come in because this is still, they have to do exactly what they.
I agree.
Exactly. This is on hold. They're
Yeah.
gonna have to
Put this
revise
on hold.
plans.
Yeah. And as far as putting poles and, pilings in the wetlands, I would be very much in favor of having them vibrated in instead, or pounded in instead
Yeah.
of jetted in
Yeah.
to minimize the disturbance.
I agree with that.
This- You gonna talk to these people?
Yeah, I'll talk to them.
They're gonna have to tell them they got a
Yeah.
lot of work to do on this application.
Spoke to them once already.
Okay.
I have a question. With this property, was there a prior application several years ago
I don't-
for?
I don't remember.
No, there's an application for the property next door
Yeah.
that already has an existing one.
To rebuild.
I'm sorry, that already has that has one to build their own that you guys issued and you just renewed.
Okay.
This one is to rebuild the existing one that's there, that's part of like the
Walkway.
right away or whatever it is.
Which doesn't have a stamp plan.
Well, the right-of-way ends at the water, and then it starts on the other side of the
Yeah.
little lagoon there. So, it's on our property. Not-
Was there any question of ownership that the applicant was applying for this?
Say it again, Ian?
Was there any question of the ownership of who was applying for this?
It's the two brothers. He did answer that question, because we did ask him. It's him and his brother owns the property.
Yeah, he owns 45 Cedar Crest. That's the one that they're rebuilding. It's right
Yeah.
here. This 39 Cedar Crest got in a permit to build their own walkway
It looks like when we
next
first,
to it, essentially.
me and James looked at this, we thought the property, the lines are off. That dock is on, looks like it's on other people's property, but it's not. It's on their property.
Okay.
We could actually have it moved, 15 feet inside the property line.
Is it right on the property line?
So
Yes,
if you look at it up here,
it's pretty close.
that's the existing one,
Yeah.
and then it goes across. And you can see there's an easement.
Is it on the,
No, it starts on the easement, then it goes off the easement.
Right.
but do those people own that easement, or is it a?
This is the concrete walkway he's talking about, but you
Yeah.
guys aren't taking that in your jurisdiction, right?
No,
We're gonna stop here,
we stopped right
which is
there.
on the easement.
Yes.
Yeah, but does he own that easement, or is it a different person that owns that easement?
I think it's on his
Yeah, so
land.
you need the easement letters, right? They usually ask for whoever has access to that easement.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
think so. I
think
think we
you're
need
right, Ian.
I
This
think we
thing
need
is-
some,
needs
this
a lot of
is
work.
tricky over here, because, I'm
We
sorry,
don't
Scott.
want, we don't
No,
want
it
them
needs
to
a lot
build
of
a
work.
bridge.
Yeah.
We don't want him to build a bridge and tell the people on the easement they can't use it.
Yeah.
isn't that what happened previously, Billy?
Yeah,
This one's already built.
This one's already
Right,
built.
but-
It's built, they're
They're redoing.
reconstructing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next lot over is one that you already gave to.
right.
Yeah.
They had issues between the two neighbors, so
Yeah.
the guy came in for his own.
Yeah, that neighbor wouldn't let this neighbor use it, only the people in the back.
Yes.
Okay, so we hold this then?
Yeah, we're gonna hold
The
it.
one he's working on is definitely on hold.
But as
Yeah.
far as
It
our
needs a ton of work.
10-foot setbacks on structures and stuff like that, it looks to me like this bridge that they're asking to replace is in that area between the property line and the 10 feet.
The easement goes back and forth.
So wouldn't it be proper of us to put this bridge in an area where there's no conflict?
Move it over.
That's a lot of disturbance to the wetlands, though, if you're
Yeah.
gonna do that.
Yeah,
That's
Ann's
the
kinda
only thing.
This
one's
You're
already
right.
issued. This
You're
other one's
right,
already
Ed.
issued, right?
You're right, Ed.
This
but
one's
that's a
not
lot
issued.
of
This is the one we're
disturbance.
talking about.
This one
It's super sensitive.
is existing.
This
They're
one's existing.
Reconstructing it.
But they're pulling out all the material. They're completely removing the
So they
whole
could
entire
move it.
bridge, walkway.
In order,
I think some of the poles,
we need this is an owner representative.
yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
need someone from this application to come in and
Again.
answer these questions.
Absolutely.
Because it sounds like we're rebuilding a brand-new walkway, whether it's in where it is now or if it's 10 feet over, you're still going to have this disturbance.
Absolutely.
I mean, and if it's going to interfere with an easement that someone else has the right to use this, and they're putting this there, and wasn't there a chain or something on this, on the other one, Billy? And
Yeah.
they were not allowing some of the other people that had an easement to cross over.
Yeah.
So, it's a complicated,
Scenario, yeah, for
Really?
sure.
It is.
Obstructing the easement, access to the easement?
Yeah, I think, don't quote me on it, but I think there's two properties in the back. One has it, one does not have the easement.
I'm not sure. I think Mark's gonna have to look at the easement language and see. It could be just this property
Yeah, I
here,
think the property on the other side,
which is,
This application's got problems that span many jurisdictions,
yes. So this has to be on hold.
100%.
Yeah,
So this is not going to work out
No.
right now.
with the representative here to
No way.
discuss it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And possibly his attorney.
He called.
You have-
I'll call him again. And speak
You
to
have
him.
legal questions, you have engineering questions, you
Yeah.
have easement questions.
do you have the deed and everything for this, so we could Is that something that we need to ask for?
I think this application's got a lot of problems that they're gonna have to hire some professionals to come in and deal with.
Yeah.
Well, we have to see how the easement is written first
Yeah,
off,
on the
and
deed.
who's allowed to use it. And if we're gonna give a property owner, even though he's the actual property owner that the easement is on, the ability to put a walkway and then say,
If it was
the easement owner, you
insurance.
can't use it, then it's gonna be in court.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what happened on one of the adjoining properties.
Yes, I think Ed's correct on that. No, so I'll have to ask him for a copy of his deed, too.
And a copy, would the easement be on that deed?
It should be. No?
No?
Easements are recorded separately.
So how did we find that on, just on a survey?
Basically, you need a title report, because they'll look up any easements and any covenants or restrictions that are also encumbering the property. The deed just transfers title.
Okay.
So we have to ask him for a title report, or,
He needs to come in.
Yeah, this has got a lot of problems. That's on hold,
it's on hold.
all right?
Yeah.
Trustee Warner?
Yes. MH Ocean View LLC, 30 Ocean View Drive, Shinnecock Hills. Inner Science, Jim Walker, I believe, is here. And Mark and I have been working on this
Yeah.
project.
Michelle Swarsman sent me an email this morning, which I forwarded on to the trustees.
Yes.
They're nervous
Let's
because
Stamp this in.
the next door neighbor's bulkhead's not there. It's falling apart, it's got major holes in it, and Michelle Swarsman's worried that it's taking a long time, and she's going to lose material around the return that she has. So she's anxious to have the town finish. The DEC permit's issued. The legal documents have been submitted, so we're asking for help with the legal document.
Where are we with the legal I know you and I have discussed this.
Yes, counsel, Ms. Murphy, has my final draft of the beach nourishment agreement, which I think may be acceptable to her. If she makes some minor changes, she'll let me know, but we have to wait until I get that document back, and then we could sign it and then file it, and then after that.
That sounds like progress. So if
All's in
he's-
your court, James.
if he's done his review and Karen Murphy has a revision, then we'll get back to you.
Okay.
Swarsmans are afraid they're going to lose material. They've agreed to put sand on the beach, unlike some other belligerent permittees.
We're not gonna go.
Maybe we should go there.
No,
This morning.
no,
You sure?
yes.
You have most of what
Absolutely.
you need, but it sounds like Mark needs a revision back to him.
Yes.
So we'll take care of that.
We worked on it twice, and I think it's, was good to go.
And there may be no revisions based
Yep,
on our last
yep.
conversation, so
Okay.
this could be ready to move very quickly.
Great.
That sounds
Great.
like progress.
Thanks,
If
Jim.
we have it in hand, it'll be,
Ed. There's no stamps on this plan, on the plans. Do you want updated plans with stamp?
Can you do that?
Stamp plans?
Yeah.
even though we've been reviewing it,
You know,
how does that?
Yes.
You've had that regulation in effect since Sandy's.
I know we have.
So you got to have an engineer, architect.
that's up to the board. The board says stamp plans, and that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
I think stamp plans, in this area, after Sandy
Stamp
seeing
plan.
the failures of multiple bulkheads along Shinnecock Bay, I would say it would be in everybody's best interest,
Given the dynamics of that
especially
situation.
in
Yeah.
this.
You can facilitate that, Jim?
It's fine.
Thank you,
All
Jim.
right, thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
There's a big bluff behind the,
It's a dynamic area.
Steep.
it's
A
really.
A
steep
lot of
bluff.
energy. There's a
Yep.
lot of wave energy
Yes.
there.
Yep, and if we get any kind of storm, it's strictly across.
Look what
from
you're going to have, a
Shinnecock
couple of
Inlet.
days worth we're getting here, right?
Yep. No, I think it's in everybody's best interest.
Thanks, Jim.
You have another one.
Yes, I do. Theodore
Cleases.
Kalisis, 53 Far Pond. Is there anybody here
It's
to?
an owner representation.
Yes. Well, I can give you somewhat of a narrative, as I've been to the property twice. I'm familiar with it. Before that, the original application was to put the bulkhead 18 inches in front of the bulkhead that exists there now. I contacted them several times, as James did, telling the applicant that we would not be satisfied with that type of project because there's all wetlands in front of the bulkhead, and you'd be basically encompassing 73 feet of property and 18 inches.
Overhead shot of this?
The wetland does go basically right up to the bulkhead. So we asked them to come back with a new set of plans, which I believe they have, James?
We did receive new plans.
Are they stamped?
They are not stamped, and they did not give us an updated cover sheet either. So,
Okay. So let's go through this real quickly and come up with a list of asks for them. First off, the plans need to be stamped.
Ed, they're just doing the bulkhead in the front, or is it going back in?
To the boat slip, or whatever
Whatever
that
that
looks like it's a boat slip.
Jogs
right?
in off to the,
And there's some sort of structure there, so,
This is why we need a new cover sheet. I can read what they have submitted here, and it really is, the project consists of replacing a bulkhead in addition to a new proposed fixed dock, which we're going to segregate out right now. The replacement of bulkhead has been proposed to be within 18 inches seaward of the existing bulkhead, which I told you we're not in favor of. I think we're not in favor of it. We have made a determination. As per the allowances stated in Southampton Town Code, Article 7, Chapter 49, that will decrease the construction impact of any surrounding environment by shortening the time machines are needed, by preventing demolition and temporary shoring measures. The new bulkhead will serve the project property and will not require additional means to reconstruct adequate adjacent existing to remain neighbor's bulkhead, preventing the possibility of different settlement. DEA has studied the situation and concluded that it is the most practical from an environmental, labor, and financial perspective to install the proposed bulkhead seaward of the existing bulkhead. Non-treated material will be used. Basically, we're not going to allow them to do that. We're going to ask them to do an in-kind and in-place replacement, and if need be, they can put the new bulkhead behind the old bulkhead and take the old bulkhead out once that is completed. That's the most practical way to do this job. It has the least negative effects on the environment in front of it. So we need a new cover sheet, we need stamped
Stamped plans.
plans. And I would say we need plans that are reflective of the whole entire site, James, not just the bulkhead, because there are, there's a dugout area where there's like a boathouse and,
we need a buffer.
well, yes, and a buffer also in back of it. Right now, there's,
So you're taking the dock off the permit?
well, I'm just doing the bulkhead right now, part of it.
But they're looking to replace the bulkhead where it is.
Yes.
So, in other words, to follow that
Yes.
existing jog on the
Yes.
south side.
Yes, we need plans to reflect that, too. And here's a picture of the bulkhead and with the wetlands in front of it. This is wintertime, so it's not reflective of the actual grasses and stuff being up. Here's the boathouse, here's the return. So I think we need more detailed plans, James, which should be stamped.
What detail do you want? They submitted new plans based off of your conversation with them.
Yes. Oh, here the final.
So those are the updated plans? These are the older ones. These were from,
It shows the boathouse, it shows the returns. It doesn't show,
what's this?
Is there a pier line in there, Ed?
what's that?
Is there a pier line for the dock in there?
It's 100 feet.
Hey, Bill.
I'm just looking at the
And showing a buffer behind the bulkhead.
These are the same as those?
Now, are these the revised plans that they sent us, James?
Correct.
Okay. So that's the ones we needed. I don't have a copy of that in this folder.
It should be in there. They should be small, because they sent them digitally, so
I think those are it.
the,
All right, yeah, but I don't see the return here. I mean, the,
There's not an aerial on the two that are here.
oh,
There
there's some more in the back. Oh, they got them on both sides. All right. Yeah, that's the proposed. Well, then we would need the plans, those plans are adequate. I didn't see them because I didn't turn over the
Okay.
sheet.
just need a stamp on them.
They need a stamp on them, and also
New cover sheet.
new cover sheet
Buffer.
and a buffer, what they're gonna do in that 10-foot area.
Yeah.
Cape American beach grass or, stones. or
Native vegetation.
Something that would be adequate in that area, being that there's a good wetlands in front of the bulkhead too. That should be
Are
about,
they doing this over here, this return over here?
yes. No, they're only doing it to the, where your finger runs there, Billy.
Okay, not this,
They're not doing the boathouse.
okay?
Not, that, at least that's what I see on the plans. Or are they, I mean,
Because if they are, it might not
Well,
be on
what's
their
the
property.
description?
well,
say?
it's,
Does the description say they're doing the boathouse, or?
no, it just says, it's very
Land.
bland.
So they need to clean that up. If we're asking questions and we're not sure, they need to clear that up.
Because that, looks like that return goes on other people's
Yeah,
property.
I think it's on the other people's property. I think they're going only up to here, Billy.
Okay, so they need
You
to
might just want
clarify.
to double check that.
Yep.
They need to
Yeah.
clarify that.
Yeah, we'll clarify if where the boathouse
That's
is,
it, please.
the return that goes from their property to the neighbor's property, if they're gonna, can you see that on there? Ask them where their project is gonna stop. Are they gonna include that return, because that's on the neighbor's property? And they would need the neighbor to, I mean, it starts on their property and then it goes
They,
to.
they need to update their cover sheet to specifically what they're building, because
Correct.
Right,
this, on their plan doesn't show that they're rebuilding that, according to this plan that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, but how can we actually say that, because there's no,
It's right on the plan here. It says line of existing bulkhead, proposed bulkhead to be built in place, material, non-pressure. And
they're
this
stopping.
part is faded away.
It's outside of it, yeah. So they're not indicating that.
That's what you're talking about, this
Because
Yes,
this is dark,
yeah.
this is black.
because
It looks like they're
my
gonna-
copy is so small, I would.
You can't make that
Fine.
determination off of the plans that we're looking at
Right,
here.
so you need the cover sheet to specifically say what they want on there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Basically, there's gonna be X amount of bulkhead, and then actually there's gonna be I guess, a diagonal return back to the boathouse.
Right,
And the plan should, the cover sheet should reflect that.
correct. The cover sheet is gonna have to match exactly what the plans are, just like
Right.
any other permit application.
Correct, it's got to be clear.
And we shouldn't have to be guessing.
We shouldn't, no, that's not the purpose of that.
Do you wanna look at the dock?
Is it part of this application?
Yes, yeah, but it doesn't have, I mean,
Is it on the cover sheet?
no. it's-
So,
It is on the cover sheet.
it is.
On
It is,
this
it is.
cover sheet, it says aluminum ramp and floating dock.
Yeah, it doesn't have dimensions, though.
It doesn't have
Right.
dimensions.
So,
It needs,
they need, I personally think they need, the board should be reviewing clear plans, otherwise, we're guessing at things. I think we should hold this
No, we're gonna hold it,
until we
Scott.
get,
But
Cleaned up.
you have different information than what I have in here, because I don't have any water depths.
It's probably on this, on the backside of the paper. The same ones, the smaller ones that you had.
See, we've never had them on.
This is,
Five people.
no, this is so, and it's so small, I mean,
What happens when you ask it for over email? They need to submit hard copies to our office.
yeah, we can't.
What we've always done.
You know, I'm gonna need like real thick glasses. I need
I can
binoculars.
see good.
I'm gonna need binoculars,
No,
maybe a telescope.
this
I'm
is,
sorry.
Do we have a list of things that we need?
this is not
that we
adequate
should
to
be-
work.
No,
with.
no,
I'm
we
sorry.
can't, listen, let's stop reviewing this. I think we're wasting the board's
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Let's get what we need to do a
Mark,
proper review.
can
We
you make
can't
that-
make a determination.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's great.
Sorry, but
No. Let's get what we need, James, and then
Yes.
we'll do this when we can actually read it, see it.
Yeah.
I can't see it.
I agree. All right. So
We
we
gotta eat
have,
more carrots, something, I don't know
I
what.
agree, it shouldn't have.
we have a laundry list of stuff that they need to submit, so. All right?
I gotta go to the eye doctor.
Okay. Can
For the
we
next meeting.
proceed?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Sunset Point Enterprises LLC, 130 Point Mecox Lane, Bridgehampton. I'm Tartunian, representing First Coastal.
Terrific.
Welcome, Mr. Tartunian.
Good morning, Board.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You have in front of you the document. We did send an updated cover sheet. We are waiting upon a stamped plan, which will be submitted once we have it. The project itself is very straightforward. Happy to answer any questions.
Perhaps if you just want to read the description of on your cover sheet, that would be great. Or your description of work.
I can read this one.
I know, plus you got Aaron here to answer questions, which is helpful.
That,
Overhead shot.
Okay,
Oh,
the description of the project is to construct a new dock with a 30-foot by 4-foot catwalk, a 3-foot by 12-foot ramp, a 6-foot by 20-foot float. The catwalk is to connect to an existing wood walkway on the site, all materials to be untreated, and open grade to be used for the catwalk and the stair treads.
James, do you just want to show Aram's pictures of what's there now? So basically, there's a natural path connecting to a wood walkway, and then the proposed structures will connect to this wooden walkway. The question I have on this project is, this is in Swan Creek, and the hydrographic map was done on the 25th of March in 2022. And the water levels at that point were 3 feet approximately. This hydrographic map was done at a very high bay. And I'm just wondering if we need to revisit our, I mean, how, historically, we've done soundings with NAVD 88 in the bay. But given that we let the bay and that there's not tidal flow in there, but that the bay is at different levels, and these measurements were all taken at a high bay, how do we look at this?
You can also go to your neighbors. The neighbor's property has a dock and see what their height is. The neighbor docks. I think because there's a formula what Fred had.
Yeah.
The average. But a lot of times we went to what the neighbors had because it should be fine, have it all flow through. So if it does go up, it goes right through it.
Yeah, but Fred had the formula when the bay was a high bay,
bay.
and we could drain it
That
lower
down.
than we can now.
Yeah.
And he'd call it mid-bay. So the
Mid-bay.
mid-bay actually is a little bit higher in the last 3 years
Yes.
than normal. Now, is Swan Creek, is it still connected to Mecox, or is it completely necked off? Because if it's
It's
completely
pretty-
necked off, then the water level is pretty much gonna say consistent. Where, see, that's my question.
Yeah, it's drained very
There's
slow.
hardly any title
Yeah,
extension
very little
there.
connection.
So that was another of my questions, Aram, was if this is someone who's looking to put a boat here, he has, I mean, he can go around in Swan Creek, but he can't get out into the bay at this point, at this juncture. So I'm just, you know, we need to look at the bigger picture here
And the other
on
thing I
two
would
fronts.
How about the height of the one south of it and the one north?
Yeah,
of it?
I was just going to ask you to take a look at the hydrographic survey by Fox, which is dated 25 March 22 in your package. And you'll see that the water level on the dock to the south is -3.4, and on one to the north is -3.0, and we're right in the middle of those on ours.
There's no way to give the adjoining property a little bit more relief. You're right on that 10-foot line, I see.
Yeah.
I mean, to back off a little bit and still join in with the pre-existing walkway. I mean, you're right on the line. It's just, you're so,
Close.
I mean, you're right on the line.
Well, I mean, but the line's there for a reason.
I get it, but we, you know, if you do
But
put a vessel there and he's expanding beyond, you know, even though you can only put a small vessel there.
He's not gonna put anything more than a 14 foot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it, but you know what it is? It's like past
History.
history that we've seen in this scenario. It's like, you know, if you have to go to that point, then yes, it does conform with what the line is. But the question is there a more practicable alternative that gives a little bit more relief to the adjoining property owner, other than, you're right on the line, could you back off a little bit and still join to that timber walk? Just based on other issues that I've seen in these applications when they're that close. My question.
My short answer is no. That's where it lines up with the timber walkway. It conforms to the code. There's plenty of room. This is going to be a small watercraft. I understand your point. I just think that, you know, you have rules, we meet the rules, why should we have to
Well,
change?
I think you have rules that are absolute limits, but I think that when you have, you know, adjustments and alternatives that still are within the rules that provide more sensible relief, you know, you're right there.
I just don't see the need for additional relief.
What would
And
you-
I mean, what
No,
are
I'm
we
just
going
saying, you
to,
know,
we're going to relocate the timber walkway?
No, I'm saying you could join in at a little bit of a different spot. You could extend a little bit
So
further.
that's what I was going to ask.
You were
What's
thinking the
your-
same thing?
Well,
I'm just saying, you know,
I-
if
so-
it's like the 10 feet has created problems in the past
so if you were
with
to
adjoining property owners.
to back up where the walkway connects to the existing walkway, so that,
I would still join into that walkway. I would just.
no, that's, I'm
Yeah.
saying that, so,
You put it
do
overhead.
do you understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying,
that's-
trying to say, Eric?
If it's all full of weeds, cocktails, you might not even see it.
Scott, you're not,
No,
go the other way, James.
I'm just looking at it
Out,
from, I
out,
understand
out.
exactly what you're saying. I'm
No, no,
looking at
I
it
mean-
from,
Back.
Is that the proposed property?
This is the property, right?
You're not even, Scott, look at that. Back it out off 11
I see it
feet.
over here, yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna. really
I see it over here, but I also see it where, you know, 10 feet is still 10 feet, you know, and I get it, that sometimes you're in these confined areas where you're trying to get things in, but you've got an entire shoreline there, and I see that you have that that walkway
black spot
there.
at the duck pond. Big hole there.
Yeah. It's up to the board. I'd just like to see more relief than that, quite frankly.
Just
I
tell me
don't
what you
think
want.
10 feet is,
You have the application in front of you, I support the application, and it is, if the board wants something different, they just need to tell me.
right. I think it just needs to be a consideration.
Well, it's considered, tell me what it is you want.
I mean, I would like to see more relief, but I'm not.
How much more relief?
I'm not going to hold you up on Blue Book regulations. I just want to make sure the board looks at it so we don't have any issues from the adjoining property.
But I'm not going to guess at what you want. If you
Well,
want
no,
something,
you can
tell
only
me.
go so far, Aaron, because it does make sense to utilize the timber walk that you do have there.
You're looking at 15 feet versus 10 feet, 20 feet versus 10 feet. I mean,
I think-
there are numbers that we could throw out there.
But what
to
do you think,
discuss.
you know, what do you think is sensible? You don't think it's sensible?
I serve the applicant, and I act at the, you know, direction of the board on this. You tell me the distance you want, I'll go back to my client. If they agree, it'll be great. This is not my call.
What do you think, Ann? Think it's good at 10, or
I'm more concerned about the bay height than I am where
I think this is a constant here, this height of it.
Right,
Where we're talking,
but-
looking at.
James, when we were looking at this the other day, I'm sorry, Scott, we'll circle back to this, but when we were looking at this the other day, you had a suggestion that we were discussing something with the bay height that was an alternative to the way the bathymetry is presently done.
Well, the thing is you guys asked for mean low water, and you asked for 2.5 feet of mean low water. Mecox is different. It's not a tidal. It's, open inlet and whatever. So you guys really need to come up with something that is consistent throughout Mecox and SAG,
But-
with the water depths for a floating dock,
But,
right? Because it doesn't match your normal tidal.
This is an arm off of Mecox. When Mecox is 3/4 full, I think this is 3/4 full. When Mecox is half full, this is still 3/4 full. I don't think you get the fluctuation of tides or water levels because of that inlet that's there. So,
Right, so
and
you
there
don't
is,
have consistency. That's what I'm saying. You
So,
guys got to look
yeah.
into that
I mean,
with how you're gonna.
well, what we usually base the floating dock and the 2-foot separation, we're looking at submerged aquatic vegetation, which there is none in this bay. And secondly, if we were concerned about the dock getting too low, we have on even more larger fluctuations use chalking. So, I mean, you could put, you could chalk this dock up so it will never go down any further than 2.5 feet. And I don't think it would ever hit that because I don't think Swan Creek ever goes that low. And I think that would solve the problem as far as the dock and the height of the water in the bay. Put chalking
It's up
underneath.
to you guys.
Or do we
You wanna
need
know?
to look at a change in regulations where we would ask for mid-bay bathymetry rather than?
Or just a platform.
Or just a platform.
Platform would solve the problem right there.
Yeah, which
Step down platform, flow through.
Yeah, that would give a nice look, and it would be.
Low profile.
It would be constant in height,
Yeah.
not
A
ever.
ladder there.
Because my other question then, Aram, to your point, is that it is almost necked off at the inlet at the creek. I mean, what do we do about that? Your owner won't be able to use even their small boat the majority of the time.
That's what they
That's their
got.
issue.
Because, yeah, but historically, from what I understand, dating back decades, the trustees used to open up these entrances to these creeks, but that hasn't been done in
Before I was on the board.
Decades.
decades. So what do we do? Because this is not the only creek that's inaccessible or on Mecox Bay.
Well, to Aram's point, on the other issue, is that if it meets Blue Book regulations, and that's what his wishes are, to have this structure
Yeah.
there, regardless of whether or not it's practical on the use side, it's within our regulations for him to request it, and it complies with what he's got, even though in practical usage terms, you're correct.
Yeah, but, for instance, over on Jewel Pond or Channel Pond, the homeowners have banded together, and they're looking at dredging under the bridge. Could not also, when you're speaking with this homeowner, there are other homeowners on this body of water that have boats or other vessels, perhaps this could be another situation where
Years ago.
No one's
you
ever
just
would.
present to those
Put someone to the-
homeowners the possibility that they band together, and we dredge that. We work towards dredging that so that they can use their water body and get access.
I'm happy to
Mecox.
bring that forward with them as something separate from what we're
Yes,
talking
yes,
about today.
Totally separate. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to be. but
Happy
I'm just
to
looking-
bring that forward as a suggestion.
I'm just
She's
trying to
looking for
draw
you.
back the lens and, like, you already have this conversation going, and it just might be an opportunity for everyone to benefit from it because Swan Creek is compromised at present. So-
Happy to bring that forward.
We still got to deal with this application.
Okay, so what do we do about this? Sorry to go a little bit in the
I think the
weeds, but
best
it's
way is go with the
important.
platform. Step down platform, all flow through.
That would be the most practical, being that the water.
You can even tilt it, move, bring it back, to the boardwalk another 2 feet over, and you'll probably be 12 feet off the property line.
We have permitted in multiple other creeks off of Mecox, though, a ramp to a floating dock.
Yeah,
That's the only thing.
yeah.
So,
Right south, the one south of it is a ramp to a float.
I mean,
It-
to
so-
Billy's point, it's probably the most practical to put a fixed dock there, but per our regulations, it would be approvable for a ramp and a float, so, I mean, basically, you're gonna be using it for kayaking and paddleboarding, so.
at this point,
Yes.
but if you look further down the road and you're able to get some water exchange in there through opening up that inlet, then it would be a different story.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Aaron? Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I'm happy to offer as a compromise that will chock the float, so that, the way Trustee Warner talked about, but I think the owner really wants to stay with the floating dock.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier to get on and off of.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to get on and off.
Yeah.
And it's permittable per our rules and regulations.
I have no issue with the floating dock. I mean, my only concern, as I stated, you have a huge shoreline there. and
15
it's like
feet,
you're
you wanna
inch-
go 15 feet, make it
Well,
an L, and then.
You tell me the number.
No, I see what you want. I just think that, it's so close to, how
Scott.
far are the other floats to the?
This is what it looks like, you're never even gonna see the dock.
It's total
You're never gonna
Phragmites
see
the
the dock.
whole way
You
around.
never-
Some people, sorry, Ed, some people have removed the Phragmites and the native vegetation is coming back, and they've done that through permitting. But at this point, all those
Really, you see this?
houses
Right,
are.
I'm looking at.
I know where that's been
Right,
there
I
before.
no, I appreciate that. It's just,
Thanks, Ed.
from what I have seen in the past on some of these applications, I can appreciate people are trying to push the view sheds or push whatever activities off more to their neighbors than to their own. And it's like,
Well,
you have how much feet of shoreline there?
this,
we already
yes,
have a
but this is
path.
No,
trying
I
to
get it.
use an existing
No,
structure.
I understand that.
and
I
the-
understand that. I just think that we're pushing it obviously for obvious reasons, right, to the maximum. You know what I mean? I just don't know if that's what's,
If-
I get that that's what's practicable.
If you
or-
look, Scott, like, here's the adjacent property, there's their dock, it's all the way on the other side. If you
But
look
no,
at
but
the
is
adjacent
that
property-
just cut off because the sheet's there, or is that where the property line is? That's my question. I want to see that.
Here,
James?
Scott,
Yeah, so they've done the same. How far are they off on that property?
same as what we're looking at, probably like 15
Very
feet.
close, for whatever reason.
Because there's probably a footpath there, and they wanted to continue it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I see what's going on here with this. It's just that you're
But
right
there's-
on the line.
There's 100 feet of Phragmites between the water and the house, and
Okay.
you're not, and the
If
Phragmites 8
if the
feet
board's
tall.
fine with it, and the board's considered it, I'm just looking at, what we've seen and heard come up on other applications. This one is unique because to the point, you can't get that big a vessel, but in other areas that we do permitting, you do get vessels that are larger than what the floating docks are, and then they're overhanging the 10 foot, so then you still have the same issue. So I'm just looking at it, trying to, be more practical on it. I
Well-
fully understand what you're saying relative to the regulations, and I clearly see what the adjoining property owner has done as well. I'm just trying to maintain some consideration for, how these things go when you have vessels that are a greater size than what those are.
You're not gonna get a
Well,
vessel out
This
here.
is,
of great
this is
size.
this is a unique situation, but you can have areas that the trustees do permitting in where you end up with a vessel substantially larger than the floating dock, and then you end up in that,
yeah.
and beyond that, 10-foot zone,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm just making sure that the board is.
What, I mean, it's not,
If you're trying to utilize that existing walkway, you have very limited ability in play to adjust that.
the one thing
Yeah,
you
right.
could do would be to bring back the intersection of the walkway and the existing structures so that it sat further, it would make the walkway be longer, but so that you intercepted for more landward.
So that would be
But-
15 feet.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get a boat over there that's going to be, other than maybe a jet ski, that's about,
I mean-
what are they, 12, 15 feet long? So it'll never overhang the dock.
I mean, nothing in
You don't- it's-
Mecox is bigger than 20
You
feet,
don't
pretty
have
much.
to, you don't have to convince me. It's just a consideration in a work session. So it does meet Blue Book regulations.
Well,
Just,
well-
it's a consideration in a work session.
Okay.
What do you think,
So-
trustee Parrish?
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I think
Okay,
it's
so-
compliant to what we need as far as water depth, as far as
It's,
off the extended property line, so it's,
it meets Blue Book regulations. It's just that, the board's got to look at that as you move forward, because not every application has the same considerations where you can only get very limited vessels in here. This may pop up on the board at times when you can put a much bigger vessel, which is going to push into that zone, and you have to take a look at what the rationale is for that 10-foot, when you do have 100 and some odd feet of shorefront that can be utilized, and people do tend to want to say, well, I don't want to look at it in my view shed, so I'm going to push it off to my neighbor's view shed, and it just creates problems, right?
Yep, but everything is site-specific, and
Exactly.
in this scenario, there is an existing walkway.
For the
that
record,
this
that's-
property is
and-
connecting to. I hear what you're saying, and I respect that. But I think in this scenario, we're
So-
pretty much in
So
agreement.
for the
that-
record, right, I think that it's important to say that this is a site-specific decision, is not, setting any precedent for any future applications that may be more practicable to have that moved outside of that, and not just push every single application to say it's okay if it's 10 feet off, if it's clearly not practicable in that site-specific application.
Okay,
right?
understood. So we need, please, Mr. Tertullian, stamped plans. We need, I think the chalking we have done on other
Yeah. yes,
floats
we have.
in Mecox, so that would be helpful if you would do that. And I think going forward that we just need to look at our regulations as far as to speak to what James is saying, that, with the difference, and Ed, I hear what you're saying, but we need to look at the whole of Mecox and how we're, because it is not a tidal water body, we need to see about what we're going to do going forward with that. Is that it then, James? Just stamp plans and chalks?
Yeah, just add it to the cover sheet too,
Okay.
chalking.
Hey, Ed, you want the chalks to go straight?
It's good that you're here to answer questions, Aaron.
2x6 going all the way across.
2.6 all the way across.
And-
Very
Did
helpful.
you know that?
And if you wouldn't mind just bringing that up with your client, that at this point, does he know he can't use, he can't
I
get
don't
his...
know the answer to that.
Right.
I think he does.
Okay, I know that the engineer was reviewing the plans on Friday, and I'm sure that we'll have them stamped and delivered within a day or two. Can we advance it with that understanding?
That's kind of difficult for us logistically, and I understand, but our next meeting is in 2 weeks, so we're happy to, if you get them submitted, we're happy to revisit it at that point and then advance it. Thank you.
And show on the plans the chalking description.
And you said all the way across on the chalks?
Yes. So you have to have 4 poles holding the float out.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Next. Trustee Parrish.
We have Christopher Witt, 125 Temple Avenue, Flanders.
Sorry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Christopher Witt. I'm the owner of 125 Temple Avenue, Flanders. I'm proposing an elevated catwalk over wetlands to a 6x20 floating dock consisting of non-treated materials and through-flow decking. I attended a prior work session about 3 weeks ago where the trustees requested that I move the inside edge of my floating dock to 2.5 feet of water depth, and I provided these surveys to the trustees.
We received them, I have the plan up. It is back to 2.5 feet of water.
Is that the only thing, James, that we're?
That was the only thing we were waiting for.
I see they got
in that time.
they got the DEC permit too.
That's correct.
Was an advisory letter necessary in this situation?
Yeah, there was a request for an advisory letter to the
Did we receive that?
Conservation Board. We haven't received a response. It doesn't look like. Do you see a response?
I think so.
I didn't see one.
You think so? You don't think so?
I don't think we received that yet.
No.
They're
Just
ve-
the request went out September 15th.
They'll get to it. They've been very responsive with the advisory letter, so this is an anomaly that it's taken them a bit longer. I didn't see one in the emails, but
So we need to wait for the response for the advisory letter?
You normally do, right?
I would say we would, but only because there's a long catwalk here. What do you guys think?
What does this say here? Bill, is this your handwriting?
That's not my handwriting.
It's probably mine, it's my work.
James, 2.5, bring back.
Yeah, I got that. What's below
Yeah.
that? The bottom there. What does that say on your hand?
I don't have that in front of me.
That's rest of mine.
Advisory letter. Oh, and that's because the paperwork wasn't on here. That was just a note for me.
I think we should wait for the advisory report.
Okay.
Unless you have any questions, anyone else?
He's got everything else, just stamp plans, it's all good.
Obviously, the stamp plans just came up, so.
Yeah, we need
to get
stamp plans.
I think my drawings are stamped on my initial submission.
On your original
Yeah,
copies?
and I think maybe they made the amendments and this one maybe isn't stamped. but-
Maybe, can you have him?
Yeah, I can get those over to James if that's okay. I'll let-
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Get him over to James.
Yeah.
If we get
Okay.
that and get the advisory letter, then we're good to go,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, provided I get the advisory letter, do I need to attend a future work session for that, or?
Well, depending upon what's in the advisory.
True.
So let's wait and see what happens, and then if we need you to come back, James will reach out to you.
Okay, all right,
So other than that, just get the revisions stamped.
That's the
and then
original.
let's-
okay.
And then we'll
Thank you.
advise you once we receive that.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Chris.
All right,
It's
thank you.
important, just in terms of answering questions and so forth, it's really helpful.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
We got First Coastal back.
Aram, you back up?
And then we got to talk about this other thing you got going on here, right?
Good morning, Aram Tertunian, First Coastal, West Hampton Beach, on behalf of the applicant Patrick Burke. This is a floating dock off of Quantuck Bay. This came before you for a previous work session. It consists of a new seasonal 4-foot by 91-foot catwalk, a 3-foot by 12-foot ramp, a 6 by 20-foot float, 8-inch float securing piles, 2 of them, and 2 8-inch mooring piles, no treated wood, and open grate material for the catwalk. Just to refresh your memory, there was a slight discrepancy between the hydrographic survey and the land survey about the width of the right-of-way, which we rectified and supplied a new cover sheet and a new site plan, and we are now, I think, 15 feet off of the property line.
That was done. Yeah, you submitted that back in August. And most recently, on the 14th, you submitted a proposed dock so that the dock extends 69 feet from the mean high water line into Quantuck Bay, and the formerly proposed float chocks have been eliminated from the plan. So we now reach the 2.5 feet. We need stamp plans also. And there's a request for an advisory letter on this as well. Do we ever get an advisory letter?
I don't think so. Here we go.
Yeah,
Oh, it's not in the folder. No, that is here. My mistake.
So they have, the advisory letter has a couple points that they're making.
Unfortunately, I did not receive a copy of that, and I cannot read what's up there.
Is it our custom to send the advisory letter to the applicant?
This
Or-
is brand new. You guys just asked for.
yeah, we could get,
Conservation Board,
we'll just share a copy. This is an issue that we're gonna have to deal with at this board. So streamlined so that he can be
Right.
more efficient. Let's just give him a copy of this so that he can look at this.
Essentially, they said that it meets their regulations for construction of a catwalk and a dock. However, I guess there's illegal clearing in the wetland, in the, not the wetland, the,
Yeah, in the wetlands, number
yeah, the
2.
wetlands and the buffer, that you would need an administrative wetlands permit to restore the areas of unauthorized clearing. So,
Yeah.
we can give you a copy of this. Otherwise, they say that it meets their regulations on catwalks and walkways, so.
Can you email him a copy,
Yeah.
please?
The applicant is proposing to construct a proposed catwalk and dock with untreated wood and light penetrating decking in a manner consistent with the Conservation Board's requirements. So they have no objection to that, just the other issues. Catwalk, dock should be constructed in the central or southerly portion of the parcel, as these options would offer the most direct route to the water, so that's a consideration also, the location, back to the location. In addition, so you want to take a look at that?
Well, sure, definitely want to take a look at it. Doesn't change our plan. Our plan conforms, apparently conforms with Conservation Board, which doesn't have any
Well-
jurisdiction here.
They're saying that what are they saying? 2013, required wetland as such, the applicant will need to submit an administrative wetland permit application to restore the areas of unauthorized clearing. So based on that part of it, maybe you need to look at that.
Well, I'll definitely look at that, and I'll deal with that separately.
Yeah, separate issue.
But, I've been to the site a number of times. I don't know what they're talking about, but I'll review it with them and work it out.
Just says, while the board does not object to the construction of a catwalk and dock on the property, the catwalk and dock should be constructed, like you said, in the central or southerly portion of the parcel, so they don't have any objection.
Put the plan back up.
Please.
Yeah, but does the water depth reflect that?
It does.
That's another question.
It looks like it's similar to where you're going to.
But this is where the client wants it, and it meets the regulation, and therefore I don't see a
Yeah, but
reason to change
it's where
it.
the client wants it, Aaron, I understand that, but they're raising the same concern that I was raising on the other one. It's now popping up on this one, and I think the board's got to look at that, you know what I mean?
I think the board, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. I think the board has established a clear criteria. We have met and exceeded that criteria, and on that basis alone, our application should be approved.
However,
I don't think there is a however.
There most certainly is a however, Mr. Tertunian, because what we are attempting to do here by asking for and requesting an advisory letter is to make a more expedient process for our applicants, rather than you having to go through two different scenarios with permitting. So we are very grateful that the Conservation Board is not only responding to, but also giving good suggestions for us. So we'd like to take that into consideration in all scenarios.
I respectfully disagree. This does not streamline the process. And if the board wants an advisory opinion, that's certainly their prerogative, and of whatever they want to consider is certainly within their prerogative. But number one, it certainly does not streamline the process. We have no need to go to the Conservation Board. We only have a need to come to this board. So there's no streamlining involved. And I'll stick with my original statement, which is very simple. You as a board have established clear guidelines that we have to stay within. We are exceeding those guidelines. Well, there may be a preference of a regulatory agency for something that is outside their jurisdiction. I can hardly see how that trumps the riparian right of the property owner.
Do you have a DC permit for this?
Yes.
Well, yeah, what do you say to that, Mark?
I'm actually good with it.
First, I'd like to see the letter, if I may.
Sure.
This is something I'm missing here.
Thank you. Copies before. Yeah. Well, Aaron is correct in that the application for the dock does appear to meet Blue Book guidelines. Of course, it's the discretion, the board can always exercise its discretion as long as it is not acting in an arbitrary, capricious manner. The Blue Book guidelines are more of a basement as opposed to a ceiling. The board is well within their rights to consider advisory opinions from other boards as well. But on its face, the application for the catwalk and dock, which is addressed in this advisory opinion from the Con Board, is Blue Book compliant. It's just a question of whether the board wants to consider.
What about his no need to receive an administrative wetlands permit?
This I don't need.
Right, you still got to deal with the other board?
I have to address their concern. As I said, I've been to the site a number of times. I simply don't see what they're talking about, but I will definitely meet with them and figure out a way to resolve it.
I think it'll be helpful when you do get the advisory letter, so that you can read it and review it.
And that's why I think that Trustee Welker was saying, trying to streamline the process, because if we issue an approval, and the approval is out of synchronicity with what their recommendations are, that would jam up the applicant for whatever. We don't want to jam them.
I respectfully disagree. That is absolutely not the case.
You
This
speaking-
board in the town of Southampton, within the Southampton town government, is the only board that has jurisdiction over this dock. And the reasoning that's provided by the Conservation Board advisory opinion is that it's a shorter distance to the water, okay? So number one, there is, the advisory opinion is precisely that. It's an advisory opinion. It's not binding. It's not obligatory in any fashion whatsoever. We do not have to go to the Conservation Board to resolve any dock-related issue. If they want to discuss a separate issue outside that, which has to do with alleged clearing, then we submit ourselves to that board in that process, and we'll deal with it.
So our jurisdiction in this application is goes from where, Mark? From where to the end of this float?
No, our jurisdiction. Do you need the survey?
Jurisdiction on this?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how many feet
Where's the application?
10 feet upland, it depends on what
This
the
is what
board
we've done in
views.
the past. I mean, pretty much,
Generally, it's been 4
yeah, and,
feet.
yeah, I mean.
So how many feet are you above mean high water here?
But it's all connected, Scott.
I understand.
And the whole time I've been on the board.
I
we've
think,
taken
I understand, but
jurisdiction.
the purpose of advisories were when we were pushing outside of general trustee jurisdiction, even though it was connected into the town environment division's jurisdiction, was to try and get the plans to synchronize so that we met sensibly all the objectives that we were collaboratively trying to accomplish when it came to water quality or any of this. That's where the streamlining concept came in.
But they're not objecting.
Yeah,
But
The
they-
first
but-
words are, "We don't
it's a
object."
consideration.
They're not
And I'm-
objecting.
and I'm-
I understand that, but there's something to be said for collaboration and playing nice in the sandbox, as they say. And it's just concerning to me that the same issue pops up on the prior application that we had, again, on this application relative to the placement of the structure and the rationale behind it. It's coming from an entire other board. I understand what you're saying relative to the Blue Book regulations. That can change, that can be changed. The bottom line is that what is most practical for the trustees to permit on their property? Yeah, you can take things right to the limits, which is what everybody's doing, but at what cost and at what additional problems are we creating when you have an entire other board providing an advisory that's saying, yeah, maybe you should move that thing, right?
And
So
we're not,
how do we
and
just
we're not to
disregard
the
that?
limit. We're exceeding the limit by 50%.
5 feet, but 5 feet.
So what? I mean, listen, do you establish these rules for a reason, or are they themselves
But
arbitrary?
we are a board for a reason. They're not arbitrary. The bottom line is we establish rules so we don't go beyond these limits. Believe me, we don't want to go beyond these limits, but we also don't want to create situations, especially when you have a total other board. Yes, we do, and we'll take jurisdiction over it to streamline things, but are we in conflict with the other?
And what
If
is
you
the
weren't
reason?
coming for it.
It's not a whole nother
if
board,
you were-
it's a staff report, number one. Number two, they say they don't have they don't have an objection. Number three, they say it meets all the standards. And number four, they say they think it should be moved to the middle, only to shorten the distance to the water.
Okay.
But the dock right north of it is almost identical to what we're doing now. So-
Exactly,
so
and
we're
that
not-
board, this board just approved that 2 years ago.
Yes, so I mean,
I get it,
feel
but we've
that's being
also
consistent.
had other issues that have popped up on this board relative to the placement of some of these docks, and I think that the board should be mindful of that moving forward, based on other issues that have occurred and based on other recommendations.
I'm not suggesting you shouldn't be, I'm just saying, applied in this situation, this works. It meets a standard, it
And
exceeds
it's
the
being
standard.
consistent to what we approved 2 years ago. It's right there in front of us.
It does, but it also has proven that it could be an issue, and I think that.
I don't think it's been proven that it can be an issue at
Okay.
all.
Okay.
I think the other dock, 2 years ago, is farther off the boundary line.
It is a little further, but it's consistent as far as upland and
Oh, yeah.
where it goes.
But it does look like it's.
And the
further
right-of-way,
off
by the way, is owned by my client. So it's actually farther from the boundary line.
I get it. So how far is that one from the boundary line?
That's another 10 feet in the right-of-way. It's actually 25.
Right. And this one's. Yeah. Well, what's the board want to do with this one?
I'm okay with the way it's presented. I think it's a good project.
Compliant, I think it has to go.
And consistent to what we've approved
Okay.
2 years ago, so that's one thing that we should be, is consistent.
And when you receive the advisory letter, you'll see that there are recommendations per overclearing in the wetlands.
You'll just deal with them on that.
That's correct.
You got your stamps? You good?
We need stamp plans.
We do need stamp plans?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're in process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We got one, stay there, Aaron.
You're holding
Gotta get a
pending
different
the stamp plans, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Aram's got another, you got one project or two projects here, Aram?
It's really one project, it just,
Do we,
It's on the corner,
it's on the corner.
on two roads.
You want to explain?
where is this?
Right,
Yep.
so this is on Springville Road, right where it meets up with a ram pasture.
It's
And
the very headwater of Smith's Creek.
Very
Do you have an
headwater
ad-
of Smith's
do you have an
Creek.
address by any chance?
Yeah, the address is,
This is,
One
Sta-
1A ramp.
Yeah, 1A ramp pasture.
22
this,
Springville.
this is Standish? Is that the-
Scopinage.
Scopinage, oh, okay.
So the situation is that 1A ramp pasture is actually trustee property. You guys store boats and equipment there. And this board applied for and received a permit from the DEC for dredging right at the headwaters. That's not, go to the right, two properties. That's Scopinage right there. So what happens is the outfall from the street, oh, yeah, if you remove that, and you'll see the shadow right there? There's shoaling right at that outfall.
Yeah, that's
Which
been a
is-
problem for years.
Problem for years, that's why this board has a permit, to dredge it periodically. And they, in the past, have allowed Highway Department to do work there, and in fact, they've, in the past, there is a memo from Eric Schultz in 2013 to Alex Greger, saying that, by this memo, he authorized Scopinage to proceed with operating under that permit to clear out this material. Now, as we all know, road runoff is a source of significant pollution. One of the reasons is all the stuff gets mixed in with the sand. And in addition to, water quality issues, it also impacts navigational issues.
Sure.
So Mr. Skopinich has asked me to come before you today to request the same consideration today that this board gave in 2013 to allow him to exercise the trustee permit and dredge out this area, which, yes, of course, benefits him, but it's also a public benefit for water quality and a public benefit for getting rid of stuff that's coming off of public streets.
When's
I
the,
think we should do the same.
when's the last time this was done?
2013, but
2013.
the current DEC permit's only good till January of this year, and the dredging window's December 31.
We should issue the same letter.
Yeah.
We should let them do it.
Yeah,
Where's the spoil site again?
We should have to, Ed, we should renew that permit too.
Yes.
Yeah, you should, that was my other suggestion,
Absolutely.
renew that permit.
And we finally got the dragger out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, a letter of permission, whatever.
We'll issue the same type of letter.
Yeah.
And where is the spoil site for this?
Oh, it's going to be trucked away. It's not very much material.
It's hazardous material.
He's going to get right on his property, just scoop it out.
Yeah.
And do they need sediment testing for this?
No, because
Yeah,
it's
we got a
maintenance
permit.
dredging under the
We have a
existing
permit.
permit.
It's already, it's
So
already permitted.
So
Yeah, probably
it's
talking
pretty
20
much,
yards.
We just need to just give him authorization to do it and do it.
I'd be happy to draft a memo for your attorney to consider.
no, I just want to see if there are any stumbling blocks in the way.
No,
but they're not.
everything's fully permitted, ready to go.
We should
Okay.
get him the letter.
The only question I have is, when we dredge that, which has to be done, how is the neighbor's bulkhead? I know,
It's a little dodgy.
yeah, I can
Gotta
see
say.
it there.
You got to stay off it.
Got to stay off it.
Yeah,
I mean, at least 10 feet.
okay, so whoever on excavator knows that,
Yeah. Well, I'll put it in the memo.
okay?
Because, yeah, that bulkhead needs to be replaced before it fails. It's still holding, but it's old.
Maybe we should, the board should, Ed, maybe the board should send them one of those letters.
Yeah, advising that his bulkhead is in,
Yeah, because if that goes, that's really bad for the whole neighborhood there.
well, the whole entire creek end will be in the bay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because the water, as you know, comes down the end of that road
Yes,
with quite force.
yeah, there's a lot of runoff that goes.
Right, because we're at the bottom of 3 roads.
With not a lot of drainage work that's been done up by,
We'll
on
get you the letter,
Upland.
I'll get something drafted. I'll send it to your attorney.
and we'll get it right off. You good with that, everybody?
yes.
Aram, the last permit that was gotten by this board, who's the consultant that did the paperwork?
I don't know if that's listed, but I will check. Who were the plans by? They were done by Lewis McLean.
McLean, that's a highway department, I thought, yeah.
Okay,
Wait, check with them, maybe they can renew it.
exactly.
Yeah, or
Have Lisa send them, have.
At
Jessica
that
send
point,
them
they're
a
probably
letter,
gonna want
Email.
what you're talking about.
They're gonna want everything.
Yep, they're gonna want sampling and.
No, that's
No, they
it's
won't.
better to.
No sampling. It's maintenance dredging.
No,
No,
for
when
now,
we go to
but
renew.
When
Yeah,
we
no, on the
renew
new,
it,
even on the new.
no.
Oh, you don't think they'll want it?
No.
I
It's
don't-
maintenance dredging. It's been dredged within 20 years. The only sampling they want is that it's more than 90% sand. If it's more than 90% sand, then it meets the
Didn't
standard.
they just hit us up on, who?
Fresh Pond, North Haven.
Yeah, but was it dredged within 20 years?
Yeah, it
Yes.
was.
But, and you did grain size. All you have to do is grain size analysis.
It's grain size analysis, but
Yeah,
it
it's
still
not
holds up
VOC
our
It's not
process.
VOCs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a
Yeah, grain
different,
size
So
is
they'll
pretty
probably-
standard.
yeah, that's a different.
Yeah.
So we're still gonna have to
criteria
go
that we
through
look
that.
But we still have
Yeah,
to
you just
go
do
through
it
that
beforehand.
process.
at. Yeah.
The dredging permits are very long out of the DEC.
We noticed.
That was a good
Come
use.
on.
As long as we renew it, though, before December 31st, that starts the process,
Yeah.
so that's an
You
important.
try to get it done like it's 60 days
So
before. but it's-
let's notify them now.
Yeah, to notify the
Do
highway
you want to have a
department.
walk-on resolution for later?
For this?
Yeah, to get a permit.
Oh,
Get it
for
going-
that.
Get it going ASAP, because otherwise we're gonna,
No, the permit, we didn't get the permit, he just said that.
Renew
highway-
it.
No, the highway got it, so. they
It's
have
the
to renew it.
permits in the highway's name.
So
they have to renew
let's
it.
let's talk to Charles. All right, so we're good. Let's issue him his letter that he needs, okay? And then we'll get a hold of what we gotta do.
okay.
Thank you.
Highway. Thank you. All right, we have people waiting for executive session. Anybody else have anything else you want to adjourn and go into exec?
Can adjourn.
Adjourn? Okay, so I'll motion to adjourn, go into executive session for the discussion of personnel and litigation. Seconded by trustee Pell, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Adjourn, go into exec.